Arrive.
Hello, everyone. What is up? We are back once again. I am your host, Rich Dog. Here are my co-hosts.
Oh, Aleks, hi.
Also, Aleks, welcome.
Wow, such a unique array of names, guys. So diverse. Good
Hey, man,
job.
gotta stick with the script now. Gotta stick with the script here. Can't
All right,
break it.
Shout out to John and Terry. Really nice name.
All right, so we will tonight be talking about the new episode of Survivor Wisconsin, New Blood, episode 7. We'll be breaking it down, talking about all the chaos that went on during it. We'll be talking about our thoughts on who we thought the player of the episode was. We'll answer your guys' questions, give some fun little information out about some stuff for the rest of the season, alongside some potential fun stuff for next season we'll give a little shout out to. And after we break down the episode, we'll be joined by a very special guest. Who will it be? We know. You have to find out. But first, we have
It's
the episode.
Jeff Probst.
What'd you say?
I said it's Jeff Probst.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna say Jonathan LaPelagio, whatever his name is. Great guy, Australian Survivor host. Really like him. Uncle JP, I love that. Sorry, I have to highlight so many comments. But yeah, we're really excited to have everyone here today. So without being ado, I think we should just start talking about the episode. So after the recap, there was a lot of talks about the double tribal twist that was announced. The first double tribal twist that has happened since Survivor Wisconsin 1, which I always am a fan of double tribals. You know, like if we ever have an opportunity to bring in like 2 double tribals in a season, I think that'd be fun. Like one pre-merge, one post-merge. Because how fun would that be? No one would suspect that. Like, I don't know. So, first off, before we talk about the strategizing that took place right before of the like those 60 seconds or whatever, what did you guys think of the double tribal as a whole?
I feel like in a season like this, it was a really good timing and a really good spot to put it in. I know we had a set way back, even before it was all filmed, so this wasn't like a sporadic, like, oh, we're running out of time, so we have to do a double tribal. This was set in place way before the game was even played, so before, you know, if anyone was thinking like, oh, this was just because Prussian was losing time, no, it was planned. Yeah, it was planned all along. We had it all set in stone, but I still think it's, you know, an amazing twist at the right time, and I feel like right there was the right time to do it. So, yeah, gotta give props to Devin there because that's a really good plan.
All right, Steib, what do you think?
I'm loving all the comments that I'm seeing in the chat right now. It's great that you're all here, and we're glad that you're here and enjoying the show. Thank you for being here. I think the double tribal twist is quite the wrench in everybody's plans. It's a fun twist, and I think it came at the right time in the game. I agree there, and yeah, it's it gets pretty chaotic right off the rip, and I was left in suspense with that cliffhanger on the last episode, and I was happy to finally see that resolution.
There we go.
All right, it's great to hear you guys. Yeah, I love double tribals. I think they're really fun. Without further ado, I think we should just start talking about the episode, right, guys?
Yep.
Let's do it.
All right, I had to go look in all my notes. So we start off with the double tribal. Everyone gets a lot of little content here and there about everything that was going on. Again, we kind of see John continuing what he did the last episode and pushing for Maris. Again, kind of saying about how Maris is flipping back and forth and how she's very much a flight risk almost in terms of flipping. And then there's kind of a lot about like Maris claiming to John that she voted Natalie and trying to lie her way out of that. Sorry, I'm trying to read all my notes. There's a lot of notes I said. I guess kind of a lot of it revolves around the backlash on Maris not voting with the majority, or I shouldn't say the majority, but more of the majority that won out with the Natalie vote. John's name gets mentioned for what I feel like is really the first time where it actually starts to pick up traction. And I think the other big thing I'll mention before we talk about who got voted out is that John at Tribal, there's a couple extra questions I think asked out, and John makes a live Tribal and tries to campaign to Kira and Tyler to try to push for Maris, all the while Kira is trying to push for John, which I thought was such a fun, it gave me vibes of Gabby and David versus Goliath trying to backstab Christian, which, I thought it was a fun ride. There's definitely a lot of other stuff that happened. So Aleks and Steib, you want to talk about your reactions to what I just said, as alongside some other stuff maybe I didn't mention?
Yeah, I find it very clever on John V's part because Maris did vote with, Ben and Kira to take out Natalie. John V was the person who put his votes on Ben. So him making that lie and trying to, and flipping it back on Maris is a really cool, villainous play, and we are trying to see more of John V, playing his villain role, and it is really fun to watch. What else happened? But yeah, Maris is kind of stuck right now because she was trying to play the middle, but now people are kind of picking up on her playing the middle part. So that is really so it was fun kind of seeing people pick up dude, yeah, Maris flipped twice, and them picking up now and just thinking ooh, do we just put the votes on Maris and just kind of come together for just one vote? But yeah, it's a kind of a fun little scramble before the vote.
What do you think, Steib? Anything you want to add in, or?
Yeah, Aleks made the good point that I wanted to make. John was the one that actually did vote to Ben, and he was able to spin Maris as the scapegoat and get her out in this very quick turnaround of a double tribal. And it was a smart move on his part. And as this episode unfolds, we'll see if that could lead to more problems or if that could lead to new opportunities.
Yeah, I'd also like to add that neither Ben or Kira was the main sure they're being talked about, they weren't really the main target really during the scramble kind of. It was all Maris and John who the main two who were getting talking points about Kira and Ben just didn't really get any threat put on them after the whole blindside. So it was kind of funny seeing how people just said, yeah, they got their blindside, but let's go back to the drawing board and kind of think of a new name to put out there. So that's pretty fun to see. Plus, Maddie still has not gotten a single, Maddie's still playing this game pretty damn well as well. She has still not gotten a single target on her back this whole merge yet. Her name is still not been thrown out. So it's
yeah,
how, how.
I definitely will talk about that later on in the episode because I have a lot of thoughts I want to say about that too, later on. Is there any other big things you guys really want to say before we talk about who got voted off at the second half of the double tribal? Anything maybe I missed or anything you guys want to say, or?
I think we covered a lot of it, if not all of it.
I do like Maddie's comment here, yeah, not single vote, but yeah, catching a lot of strays, kind of. But yeah, she is still playing a very under the radar game as well, so gotta shut that out.
All right, so unless anything else needs to be said,
go to the vote.
Yep, I was about to. How did Jeff Probst say in Micronesia? We'll get to it, brother. All right, so with a vote, I believe it was a unanimous vote. If not unanimous, and near unanimous. 7-person vote out of the game. Third member of the jury. Maris voted out once again. And I kind of felt bad for Maris. She was literally, I think I said this last recap we did, and Maris was borderline a revolving door. She was kind of thrown in a revolving door. She really only had, a few actual rounds in the game to do stuff, and it's just, granted, the twist kind of threw her for a, twist kind of threw her in really hard, and, I don't know, it's really difficult to kind of see it from Maris, Yeah,
her roller coaster game is kind of one for the ages, She had such a up and down type game, so yeah, it just kind of sucks how her game kind of ended like that. But she played a decent game for amount of time she had in the game during the merge. It's just, she kind of got crossed into two alliances and then just kind of, they both went against her.
I agree. Yeah, Maris was able to play with the cards that she were dealt, and sometimes the luck just isn't in your favor in a game like this. And a lot of things, unfortunately, led to her getting voted out, not only twice, but voted out as the third juror.
Yep, it's cool because we can all relate to being screwed by twists in this game. So
true.
Yeah. I will say right now too, like I definitely relate to Maris in terms of the game because of the fact that it's like, again, I've said this over and over again. My first season, I was hit the exact same twist. I was exiled right off the bat, and it really is how you make of yourself with it. And unfortunately, Maris was never able to get a grip on the game like I was, and it's like, but yeah, I mean, I think Maris definitely got caught in the middle. I definitely agree with Devin with this. Maris definitely got caught in the middle. Got caught with her hand in the cookie jar, and John kept pushing for her over and over and over. Even last episode, John was pushing for her, saying that, like, oh, like, Maris, we have to get out Maris. Maris is such a threat. And I think it's, again, like I said, the last couple rounds, the first few rounds of the merge. Because keep in mind, technically, this is still the second round of the merge. The second round being the double tribal. So technically, like, this is early on in the merge, and unfortunately with Maris, if you have someone saying your name, like Natalie, if you have someone saying your name early on, that's going to eventually track once the merge comes in because people are looking for a name to grab onto. So unfortunately for Maris, happened to be her. Yep. Anything you guys have to say about Maris that hasn't already been said?
Not really. Again, playing the middle kind of got her screwed a little bit because both people realized like she was playing the middle between these two, OG alliances from the OG tribes, and she did have that women's alliance that she could have fallen back on if she really wanted to, but I think that was long gone after Natalie got voted out. So, but yeah, just putting her trust in John kind of got her screwed. But you can't really, you can look back and be like, oh, I could have done this, I could have done this, but like in the game, it's really hard to kind of know who you can trust. So unfortunate, but Maris played a good game, just kind of got screwed by a twist and being caught right in the middle. Yeah.
Well, I do also think that's a part of the game too, is that every season has its own twists and like turns of the seasons. And frankly, I do want to say that a great thing about every great player does have to adapt to the twists and everything. Not saying that Maris isn't a great player, but every player does have to find some way to adapt and get through any twists that go through the season. So I do think Maris is a great player. I hope we get to see her back again. I just think that she wasn't able to really get her grip in the game. So before I say one last thing, I almost forgot to mention, Steib, what do you have to say about Maris in the game?
No, I think we covered it all. She did play a really good game. And I think the only thing we haven't said was it's a simple phrase. It's 2 words. It's 9 letters. Fuck Blake.
totally just went off course here as well. But yeah, I agree.
This is all his fault.
It is. It really is all his fault.
Well, let's not give him screen time then, guys. The one thing I will want to say that I almost forgot to mention before is that on her way out, she gives some parting words. I think almost borderline set up a lot of the conflict for the final 7 round, which is the rest of the episode, where Maris says that I quoted it down. She put down that like she thinks it's foolish for them to keep a famous LRG couple in the game, i.e. famous, like people who are very well known in like any types of these games around the world or wherever. Like, does she have a point? Absolutely. But for John and Taylor, it's kind of like, ooh, oh no. Like, I don't know. I thought that was kind of funny that she went out like that. Because, like, I mean, I went out somewhat similar like that Twist Manor. I keep mentioning that. I'm not going to the rest of the time. I just bring this last part up a bit. In a very similar way, I brought that up. And I was like, you know what? Like, screw you. I'm going to out everyone I can. And so, I mean, Maris doing on her way out, starting chaos. You can't bring chaos into the game. Throw chaos, throw a stink bomb on your way out, and start some chaos with that on your way out the door. So
yeah, I will want to
yeah,
really good torch snuff last comments We really do.
A compilation of that from like the
Snake
years.
ass.
Classic. Yeah. All right.
All right, so let's talk about what happened after Tribal Council. There really wasn't a lot, but there was some funny stuff where Ben is very much happy that Natalie's out. John, I think, is satisfied that Maris is out. They all think that Maris screwed them over. And Ben's just so happy to be there. I think someone basically told him, I think it was Tyler or someone, I forget if it was Maddie or Tyler or someone else, told Ben that he has golden retriever energy, which I absolutely love that. That is very true. Like, Ben was adorable, just jumping up and down. He's like so excited to beat her. Like, I will say right now, Ben is one of my favorites. I think we've had Ben is one of my, this cast is like full of my favorites. Like, Ben is definitely one of my favorites in the fact that like he clearly wants to be there, and I just absolutely love it when people want to be there. I think Tyler said that. Okay, thank you. Or Taylor said that. Okay, Tyler or Taylor, whoever said that. Like, it's a great comment, and I do think it was really good. Glad to hear that, Ben. Thank you, buddy. Thank you, man. Thank you, Benny. I think that's kind of it, unless there's something else that I forgot to mention.
It's more the same. It's there's that old expression about how the lie gets halfway around the world before the truth has a chance to tie its shoes, or some shit like that. And it's just it's those typical after tribal emotions and conversations going on. People are just sticking with one story and sticking with it until the end of the game. And that's just a testament to the level of gameplay from these 7 remaining survivors. So I'm excited to get to the next challenge and see what happens next.
Yeah.
Aleks, anything else you want to say, or like reactions you have?
I do think there was a comment here saying it's funny how just Ben just tells the person that he's voting for. I think this whole merge, he's told the person who was going to be going out that he's voting for him or her. So it is really funny seeing that.
Yes. In a game full of lies and deceit, why not be a little truthful?
Sorry. He was even mentioning like Penner too, where he's all like, Penner did it in Philippines. We screamed it out, and then they're talking about Caleb in 45. Like, I mean, Ben is a fan. I love to see it. It's really good.
Ben in the chat saying, dude, I'm a bad liar. I can't lie to people. You lied to us and said you were a teacher for the kids, remember? What the hell? Nah, you're a good liar.
If you keep watching past seasons, you'll see I am the exact same. I am a horrible liar. That is the hugest reason for why I screwed myself over my first season, because I lied at the wrong time. I am a teacher. Okay.
Look at the challenge.
Yeah, let's get to the challenge.
Yeah.
It's a very fun challenge that we have not actually seen back since Survivor Wisconsin, since Survivor Whitewater's 6th season Battle Royale. And so essentially the challenge starts, everyone has a bucket, and they will run out to a giant bowl of balls. They'll grab one ball, run it back, or one ball, run it back. They will go to the bucket of someone else. They will put one ball into there. If you get 4 balls in your bucket, you are out. The last person standing wins immunity, safe from the vote. 1 in 6 shot at winning this game. Everyone else, Tribal Council, where someone will become the 8th person voted out, 4th member of the jury. And before we really get into who wins, I just want to say I love that this challenge was brought back. I definitely really think it's really fun challenge, because we haven't done a lot of these types of challenges. I think that I can recall. From what I can recall, I don't think we've done a challenge like this since Legends, unless I may be forgetting one. I don't believe I am. But where we did something like this with like touchy subjects in Legends, where it kind of like borderline exposes the social confines and barriers of the group, what everyone's thinking. And I really, right, like I definitely
came out at the best timing as well. Right after the double tribal, and now you give this challenge where you kind of just say like, okay, well, who is the biggest threat, and who is the person who isn't really like the biggest threat, with just it kind of shows now. So it really, this challenge really also gets a lot of people talking, and we see it after the challenge as well, so it's pretty cool.
Right. I know I definitely was campaigning preseason. I was campaigning for this challenge to be brought back because I was like, this is such a great time to bring a challenge like this back. And yeah, we're really glad to love the challenges. There's so many fun challenges, and I was like, I really want to see this one back. So we haven't done it in so long. And I was really excited to see it back. So Steib, what do you think about this challenge before we get into who won it?
I loved it, and ultimately, it's a challenge that's somewhat fair because you might not necessarily be viewed as the first target right away, and that could lead you to getting an extra opportunity or two to throw some extra balls in somebody else's cup to make sure that you end up walking away with that idol and getting that 1-in-6 shot and win the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Devin put this in. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt if you guys were going to say something else. Devin put this in, and I wanted to quickly address it. Do you think Final 7 is the best timing for a challenge like this, or even earlier in the merge? So technically, this is like round 3 of the merge, I want to say. Because, the double tribal had like 2 vote-offs technically. For my answer, I would say around the early merge. Early to like maybe early middle, I guess, if that makes sense. That's my answer to that, just because I really do think that like you have a lot more numbers, whereas if you do it like 5, maybe 6, and maybe too late for people to change some stuff. So like, I mean, unless it's like a final 2, then maybe 6, but like, I don't know. What do you guys think?
No, I think we did it perfect this time around. Maybe earlier next, if we were to do it again, maybe like 8 or 9. Just test the waters and see how it works. But like it worked really well.
Depending on how big the merge is too.
Yeah, it worked really well.
Right.
So
I think the timing was pretty well, and I'm certainly open to experimenting. Certainly doing it maybe at an earlier point in the game. If we were to have a couple more people, that can make it a little more nail biting and exciting that way.
Maybe like the second merge challenge would be like the best time.
I would love to see this challenge come back.
Yeah, we do touchy subject. Tyler says we do touchy subjects at Minnesota every season on Final 8. It always changes the dynamic so much. I definitely like when we do challenges like this. The only thing I will say, like I said, we always try to make sure we're not doing challenges too often so that like people don't start predicting some stuff. This is a challenge where it's like I would like to see if we're able to make like different variations where they're different challenges. I would love that. So
the thing is time and how long challenges take. So
right,
something we have to put into mind while kind of creating these challenges is how long will it take and how long will it kind of affect the talking between challenge and tribal. So yeah.
Steib, anything else you want to say about it, or?
No, I think we covered it all.
I want.
Should we talk about who won?
I will. I just wanted to address this right before we did because I thought this was so funny. Rebecca, low-key, what if we did touchy subjects at the reunion? I'll host this challenge, Rebecca. I'd be down to host this challenge.
So, Richie, tell us about your experience on Wisconsin Evolution.
Read between the lines. That's what I think, Steib.
Yeah.
I still rank that as probably one of the worst few seasons we did. Everyone just threw it to
if anybody asks you a question at the reunion, you'll be going too long. You'll be answering too long.
No, I actually try to limit myself, believe it or not. I actually do try to limit it. Do I do the best job? Not always, but I am a lot better than I was a few years ago. So I've actually done a lot of self-work on myself to try to be a better person. All right. So, season 8, we will say something fun about season 8 later on. Apply for season 8. So, all right. So, without further ado, the winner of this challenge, guaranteed spot in the final 6, was Aleks. Standing there. Okay.
Is that coming through at all? Can you hear that?
Yeah. Yeah, you understand. Yeah.
Good.
Anything. It's that they're like.
Hey, I was tapping my desk. All right.
Aleks okay. So
it was Ben.
Yep. Thank
Ben
you.
won individual immunity, safe for Nouveau, guaranteed 1-in-6 chance at winning this game, and I really am happy for Ben. That's a second immunity. Not many people even win one, and the fact that we've gotten multiple people winning challenges already. Ben's already won a second. I'm happy for him. I am really, really happy for him. So what do you guys think about Ben winning immunity before we talk about the impact that may have had later on with the votes and all that?
You can
Well,
really
considering the nature he's been playing, as he said in Tribal, when you're already in the crosshairs, you just got to play balls to the wall. And for him to win a very important challenge like this, to win his second challenge, it's a fantastic episode for Ben. So yes, congratulations to him.
Yeah, it was fun because he was flying up and down and getting these balls in these cups, and after a challenge, he's basically passing out on the ground just off of exhaustion, and you can still hear it while he's doing his confessionals and like talking, like he is just out of breath the whole time. And it was just kind of funny seeing that because he's really playing the game hard, and like that's how you should play the game. So props to Ben for winning that. That was a big win for him.
I will say in defense of them, because in defense of like Maddie and Ben, the last two that were in that challenge, Maddie kind of gave it to Ben and let him have it. I will say in defense of Maddie, running's hard. Like running sucks. I hate cardio. I avoid it whenever I can at the gym. Like I'm very much like weightlifting and all that.
Maybe next time we can do like we can shoot balls like ping pong balls into a cup or something.
Right.
Instead of having them run.
I remember when I did the challenge like 3 years ago, over a 3 years and like 2-ish weeks ago, actually, I did not realize the date. We had to do running as a part of that final, and like holy fuck, I hated that so much. Like I remember almost passing out on the floor when I was done with running. Like it was like at least a good like half mile straight running. Did I win? No. Did I try to do in cardio? Yes. Did I improve on it much? Absolutely not. I suck at cardio. Yeah, let's get to the after the challenge stuff. So let me look at my notes. There's a lot of discussions that kind of there's a lot of discussions with the votes. A lot of them very quickly come down to, from what we're showing at least, is John versus Taylor, as people start to look at them and like, oh, they're like a massive threat because they're like a couple now. And like because everyone knows they're a couple now, and especially because Maris kind of like, well, it's kind of foolish. And it's kind of what I meant when I said that, like, I borderline think that Maris had a very big impact going out the door, saying what she said, because obviously you're kind of starting to think, like, what is the jury thinking on their way out the door? So a lot of talks start up with that. However, there's some stuff that's not revealed really until closer to the end. I'll quickly minorly address it now about how the Vuku 3, the remaining Vuku 3, being Rebecca, Tyler, and Taylor, start to formulate a plan involving Tyler steal a vote to guarantee their safety, as, again, a lot of the votes are going down to John or Taylor versus Rebecca. I do want to say some other fun stuff before I pass on to you guys to discuss what happens before Tribal Council. And I do think, like, Ben thinks that, like, the challenge definitely is, like, make him feel really good. He won again. Ben's saying that he thinks he can win if he gets to the end. He thinks that, and then he starts to really think about the final Tribal Council, which is the perfect time to really start thinking about your endgame plan. Because whether or not it's a 2 or 3, you want to plan out what your best endgame is. So around this time towards the end, it's always the best time to do it. And it's really good to see Ben starting to really think, like, who are my endgame threats? Who is my best one to go against? And then he says that he thinks his best final tribal involves, I believe he said it involves Maddie at one point. He threw Maddie's name out there saying he wants to go to the end with her, which is really good for Maddie's game. And Maddie even has a good confessional later on where she says that the no ball people, i.e. the people who did not get balls in their buckets and get eliminated, could very quickly become the ball and the cup people in the flip of a dime, which I thought was a really good quote because it's very true. Like, you could go from looking at a really good spot on that challenge to basically like going out later that round. Like, I really do think that it was a fun round for sure. Taylor definitely still has her super idol. She's not even telling John about it, which is really good because John's borderline throwing her under the bus. And she's like, well, John screwed me before. I'm not going to trust him for shit, which I really like. I'm trying to find a couple other things. And I think the other big talking point I want to throw out there for now, before I pass on to you guys, is that a lot of people are it's like the first half of the round are strategizing. They're all like, John and Taylor are a threat. We need to get John and Taylor out. Let's go get him out. And then like the second half of the round, Rebecca is kind of the voice of reason and saying, are John and Taylor really a threat? Do we really need to take them out? Because it's subjective. Like, and she kind of starts campaigning for like, hey, like, let's not think of them as a threat. Let's go for like someone else. So, what do you guys have to say about it?
Again, I'm still really high on Tyler. I think Tyler and Rebecca kind of called out pretty well that we don't need to take out Taylor and John, because Tyler said like, yeah, they're a really good meat shield to go to the end with, and Tyler thinks he has a better campaign against the two, which who knows really what the jury thinks at this point, but I do like how he's thinking kind of outside the box, like, yeah, if we don't need to get the two out if we don't need to, they're a meat shield and a half for him, and Tyler's playing a really good a low-key game, and he's still doing a really good low-key game until this tribal, but we'll see how that all comes out when we talk more about that. But like, he is really playing a good game, and he's also pointing out really good like ideas for him to get further into this game. So he's doing a really good job. Same as Rebecca, kind of pointing that out. Like, we don't need to take him out right now, but like later on we can, because they might have the same kind of jury management kind of like, oh, we don't want those two coming and winning, but like, who knows really what the jury thinks. So yeah.
Right, and I will say, just on touching onto that before I get to what you think, Steib, that the jury, again, this is a part, especially the party game, where after the merge, you need to start trying to think, what is the jury looking for? Am I pissing off people, or am I sending them off in a really good way? And we kind of even saw in Natalie's exit interview that she's a little pissed with Ben. Some iconic quotes right there. So yeah, I mean, this is the part of the game you really want to start thinking about the jury and what they're thinking, and like what they're gonna think of you and your game at the end. So there's a couple things I also will mention after we talk about Steib, what you think, because there's a couple things I just saw now in my notes that I forgot to mention. So Steib, what do you think about everything before Tribal Council and just some stuff maybe that I missed?
Everything overall, like the entire strategizing section. I think there's a lot of lies and deceits going around, and there's a lot of people telling each other that they're gonna vote for one person, and then it turns out that was a complete lie, or it turns out that was without the acknowledgement of a special advantage. There are plenty of advantages still in this game. I actually have a question for you guys real quick. Do we remember?
I'm joking.
No. Do we remember at what point Ben's idol nullifier expires? Was it at Final 7 or was it at Final 6?
I believe it expires at... I also had the idol nullifier in Fans vs. Favorites, so I think I can attest to this. I believe it's 6. Yeah, Ben confirmed with me.
6.
I think it normally... You can use it anytime from when you get it, I believe, up until the round it expires. So I think it's Final 6 it typically expires. Unless it was changed for this season, but I believe both seasons it was Final 6. So,
yeah, interesting. There's still a lot of advantages still at play that can be used to sway an entire episode, as we see later on. So, Richie, what else do you have to say?
Yeah. So there was some other fun talks. Like Rebecca gained a lot of content this round. I feel like there was definitely a lot of personal content about her wanting to not be a final tribal council goat, which if you don't know, in Survivor, a goat is different than like the goat term. Like in Survivor, a goat is usually referred to as someone who has no chance of winning at all. They are not, they're Survivor goats, like someone who's dragged to the end because they're like, oh, they're never going to win, So they're not the greatest of all time. They're like, like someone who can easily be beat. And Rebecca's like afraid of becoming that goat and becoming that person who is just never going to win, and I definitely relate to that. No one wants to be in that position where you get 0 votes. We've had, I think, a few 0 votes finalists in the past. Some people believe some of those 0 votes finalists in our past should have won. Some believe they were right to get 0 votes. It really depends on the season at hand. There's even some talks about, it was even inserted during Rebecca's confessional, where Rebecca and Maddie are talking. I think they start talking about a girls' alliance, if I recall correctly.
Those the alliance of Taylor, Rebecca, and Maddie.
Yeah.
And I think Tyler was also in on that as well, or something like that.
Yeah, so they're starting to talk about that, and that Rebecca and Maddie are like, no one's going to see it coming, which is like really great because Rebecca's starting to set herself up well. Rebecca and Maddie are selling themselves up really well for the end game, which is really good. Like this entire round as well, people are coming up to Maddie, talking to Maddie about what she wants to do. And the other thing I will mention too is that Maddie, even at one point, is like talking to John. John starts asking Maddie, what do you want me to do? And Maddie flat out tells him, and then John's like, no, I want Rebecca. And then like Maddie's all like, okay, we're like, I'm trying to help you here. And I do think that's crazy too, Devin. Sorry, but yeah, I wanted to mention that too. There was something else. Because I know Rebecca also is feeling she has no agency, and that's why she's worried about being
I do want to highlight.
Well, sorry.
What do you want to highlight?
Thank you. I do want to highlight Taylor. You know, she was vulnerable this whole time. You know, she didn't have it. You know, she was safe for 2 rounds of voting, and now she is, you know, no necklace. She does have the super idol, but nobody knows that. And she is playing such a good game because, you know, she is not, you know, scrambling. She is being very calm. She is probably the most calm person out of this cast right now who's playing right now. You know, she's just talking and just, you know, kind of gaining info and not really scrambling at all. And we kind of see that in the whole, like the whole episode where like she's not scrambling. She's just talking, you know, just kind of getting info and just kind of putting up names, but like not really being so aggressive with who she wants out. So she is playing a very good game, and we are just not highlighting her game at all right now. I feel like we keep highlighting Ben and, you know, all these other big new move players, but we are not highlighting Taylor, and she is playing such a good game right now, a very low key game, like Tyler as well. And yeah, like
you're absolutely right, because she is playing a tremendous social game, and she's not really being thrown out there like that entirely, to the point where everybody's gonna betray her and betray John in their relationship and the relationships that they've made with the other castmates.
Yeah.
But she's also winning challenges too. It's like she's really like playing a fantastic game, and you're right, she deserves her props as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Taylor does have really good moments this round where even like this entire round, despite the fact that her own boyfriend's targeting her and saying like, yeah, we can get her on next round, it's still always next round, i.e. giving her a chance to win immunity. She's still trying to campaign to people and make some choice and like some talks and choices. And even as we see later on, there were talks between the Vuku 3 about trying to blindside Kira, as, you know, they were like, hey guys, Kira's been playing a really good game. And Taylor's like, yeah, like we need to like make sure that like, yeah, I definitely think that was really good talks overall. Taylor for sure is playing I think she's definitely playing a really good under the radar game. I definitely think Taylor, Rebecca, Maddie, and Tyler are all playing pretty decently under the radar games. So it was like,
yeah,
we entire time, like Kira, John, and Ben are just like the massive, like big figures of the season. And now some targets are starting to fall on their backs because they're doing a lot of talks with it. So,
I do like Devin's coming here. You know, yes, like we've seen players play very aggressive in the real game about, you know, having a super idol and like, you know, playing very aggressive, but Taylor's doing the complete opposite. No one knows she ain't telling anybody, and she's still playing a very under the radar game, even with this insane power she has, which is really crazy to think about.
Yep.
And
good comment, Devin.
Yeah, I really do like this as well, because Taylor even said for her super idol that she's even possibly planning on like using it as a little trinket after it's expired to guarantee herself to go further, which I really like. In a sense, she's kind of pulling what Allie did in Summer Solstice. So like, I really do like it. I think it's really good because that's really thinking ahead. And again, you got to be thinking ahead in this game. And Taylor's really showcasing her experience, helping her throughout the game. Whether or not it does help her throughout the game, I think it could definitely help her, but who really knows? We still have yet to see what happens afterwards. Kira is definitely pushing for John or Taylor to go, and even like Ben is all like agreeing with Rebecca, and it's all like, hey, we're like, I've heard this and I kind of agree with this. Like, why do we have to like view them as threats? Let's go for someone else. And even then, like Kira's all like, yeah, but like the more you let like those two people go by, the more the votes mean, which I really do agree with. In Final 8, 2 of 8 is 25%. In Final 6, 2 of 6 is 33%. So that's already a third of the votes right there. And so Kira has a massive point that I feel like almost falls on the deaf ears, unfortunately, where they're all starting to realize, like Kira's starting to realize, like putting 2 and 2 together, like, hey, if we let them keep skating by and don't try to separate them, they could just run the game with their 2 votes alone. Especially at Final 5, like 2 votes out of 5 is 40% of the remaining votes. So, the Teachers Alliance now. Funny thing with that, I actually was going to be an education major in college. I switched to communications my junior year because I was worried I would be a bad teacher. Moving on from that, though, Kira's putting those 2 and 2 together with that. Taylor's still campaigning for her own safety as well. And even Kira's talking about how she didn't even want Maris to go last round and how she was kind of sorry, I saw this comment now. I was like,
yeah, I'm checking out the comments too. They're popping off. I think I saw somebody comment there was at least 16 viewers at one point. That's crazy. We thank you all for being here and being so active in the chat. Hell yeah. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for coming on. We're really excited to have everyone here. Nicholas, before I go on, people actually have seriously said that over and over the last like few years, believe it or not. I've actually had Corey even told me this flat out that people were saying this too, and like to him. And yeah, I'm so shocked. It's like I had a horrible fight. Like I knew when I got to Emma Corey, like I'm losing, and I just tried to pull a desperate grab with that. I did so bad. I knew I was losing. I knew I had a really bad campaign, and like I wish I could have campaigned my game better. Live and learn.
Is there anything else we want to talk about the talking stage before tribal?
I'm trying to find it. There was something else I was going to talk about. Let me try to look into it because I know there was one other thing that I put in my notes before Tribal Council. Steib, is there anything you have to say before?
No, I think we covered a lot of the strategizing. I'm just going to go back to what I said before. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for watching the show and watching the live breakdown afterwards. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere because we still have a special guest set to appear. So hang on for that.
All right. So John, again, still pushing hard for Rebecca. Again, like I said, like Maddie's even trying to throw him a bone and flat out telling him like, hey, it's telling him like, hey, like I want to help you. What like, and then John's all like, she's like, John, what can I do? Maddie, I forgot who exactly she put down. It's lost my notes, but like then she tells John's like, no, Rebecca's gonna be a sneak to get to the end. And I do kind of get his experience could be jumping in here, but at the same time, like Maddie doesn't have to come up and help him with anything in this sense. And I mean, I don't know. Like I do kind of get where John's coming from. I get where Maddie's coming from. Yeah, and then so I know there's even some talks where I think Maddie's name gets kind of thrown out at one point, barely. I think more of a decoy plan, but I mean, she's not really at risk, which is again something I will say for Maddie, because Maddie is definitely like in such a good position where I don't think people are seriously considering on voting for her. And I mean, now that she's able to make the merge, we're starting to see the not consequences, not retribution, but more of like the benefits of how good her social game has been, where now she's able to really like formulate all these great bonds. People are very much seeing her as like an ally more than an enemy, and that's who you want to be seen as. So Unknown Rebecca Lores, one of the earlier played also a secret dating couple, and that's super influenced by that was secret dating couple. Okay, that's really good to know. Brendan up at the reunion, Rebecca. Sorry, moving on. Anything else you guys have to say before we go to Tribal Council?
I think we hit all the talking points.
You can't make it this far in the game by playing poorly. You know, like these 7 remaining players are playing their butts off, and something's got to give. One of them's got to go home now. So we'll see who it is.
Right. I do think it's I do think like no one's really playing bad this season, you know what I mean? Like even like people who maybe aren't playing as good as others, I wouldn't really say anyone's playing like purely bad. Like we've had players in the past, even if sometimes I've played really bad, but we've had numerous players in the past who have played just poorly. There are people who have just played so poorly that they get voted out so quickly. That's not even funny. No one's really playing bad. So we get to Tribal Council. One quote I think that stuck out to me the most, or 2 quotes I will say, is that Rebecca is confident that what she thinks will happen. And Maddie says like that her paranoia is that wasn't Corey, but
C Diddy in the chat. What up? Good evening.
Oh
my man.
God. I love Corey.
I'm for round 4, I guess. Holy crap. Put him up. Or she could be the girl kind of walking across the stage with the card saying like round 4.
I'm one of the poorly players. I went out first twice.
Paper I brought the day of. I will get that out and just write round 4.
Gloves are off.
Right. Oh my gosh. Okay. So long story short, Maddie's paranoid. Rebecca's confident she thinks will happen. And Tyler, before the votes are cast, finally plays his steal a vote against Maddie, per his plan to make it look like, to kind of like give a little paranoia. They want to put it up as a bluff. Yeah. And so there's all the votes that come in. Before we reveal the votes, anything that you guys want to say about Tribal Council, the voting, and like any of that before we get into it?
I want to give props to Tyler. You know, he had his plan coming into merge, saying, "I'm gonna play this steal vote later in the merge, and make it a huge swing in momentum, and it might, it might point a big target on his back. But at that point, his thoughts are, we at least secure with alliances and kind of working with everybody that people won't really target me as a big threat going forward into the game." And looking at what his whole alliances and stuff are right now, he is playing a very a very well middle game, and we'll see how it plays out with him. But he had that plan going all the way through, and it worked out for him all the way through. So gotta give props to Tyler. Really great move.
I got to second that opinion. Yes. Tyler made a huge move, not only finding that steal a vote advantage in the first place all those episodes ago. Go watch them if you haven't caught up. If you happen to skip an episode, go watch them all. He made a big move with that at the right time when he needed to, and at that point, the OG Vuku didn't have the numbers, so he did what he had to do to get those votes, and it was a very nice move that could very well stand in a case with the jury if he were to make it that far.
All right. I 100% agree with that. Also, like you said before, if you, like you said before, Steib, if you haven't watched past episodes, go watch them. Like, what are you doing here if you haven't watched this episode? But yeah, I definitely agree with all what you guys said. The fact that Tyler had pretty much planned this out. I'll get more into this a little later on about my thoughts on this as well. Yeah. But 1000%, like Tyler puts in the work for it to basically prep it up, for what he needs to do for this round to get through, and as well as get his allies through. So, anything else we got to say before we reveal the vote?
Let's reveal.
All right. So by a vote of 4-3, Aleks unenthusiastically just sitting there. Okay. The 8th person voted out of the game. 4th member of the jury, Kira. And Kira, unfortunately, gets voted out here. Really surprise vote here. And even as she's voted out, I even put this in my notes. We'll even talk about this a little bit later on. We're talking about this and Justin a little bit later on as well. about how Kira thinks John lied to her. She wants Ben to win, which does feel good for Ben.
Ben in the chat, he's really upset about the decision, and I don't blame him. That's how I felt when Aleks saved me in Captain's Curse, and then he went out like shortly after. That's how I felt, man. So I feel your pain. we feel your pain.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was even revealed in her exit interview that she told Ben that if she gets voted out, Ben should go to the end with John. I believe it was John and Taylor's what she said in her exit interview. So, yeah, I was really surprised to see Kira get out here, and we kind of see a lot of the plans for it. This is in the episode where we start to see everything Tyler said, the work Tyler put in. This is kind of where we start to see it. So yeah, it was definitely really surprising to see Kira get basically blindsided here, playing a really good game. So before we bring in our special guest, do either of you guys have anything you want to say about the episode as a whole before we interview our special guest and ask some fun questions to this person?
Yeah.
I think they're ready to add to this conversation. So yes, let's continue the conversation with them.
That works.
All right, so with that in mind,
Do we got to do the drum roll again?
it is not Jeff Probst, Corey. I will sorry to be disappointed you with that.
Not,
Our guest of the evening is, you can introduce your name once we put you in here.
Hello.
Here we go.
We got Kira
God.
here.
Let's go.
Welcome.
You were waiting patiently for the last 50 minutes.
Almost an hour.
Shit.
That's what Richie meant.
That's dedication. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you. That's
How
dedication.
am I supposed to be on here when the people want Jeff Probst?
Right, come on.
Yeah, I don't
Oh,
think people
man.
want Jeff Probst after they saw the 50 cast. I'll tell you that right now.
There we go.
Chat is blowing up. They are excited.
I have a whole video coming out with that in the Survivor call. I just have to finish editing it. All right, so Kira, you got voted out tonight. I do want to say, how did it kind of feel to kind of watch your episode play out, boot wise?
Yeah, that was interesting. Props to the editing, because the whole episode I was thinking like, okay, I'm super interested to see like how this played out. And the whole thing I was like, is this my boot episode?
Yeah, that's how we felt.
But really great. I mean, it kept me on the edge of my seat. I told Devin that too. I'm like, I knew the outcome and I didn't even like, this kept me in suspense. So yeah, that was really interesting.
Yeah, Devin's doing a really good job editing this whole season.
For sure.
Yeah, he's really doing a good job.
Yeah, it's really great to see everything play out. Especially, and that is one of the best moments of being able to see like how you get voted out. I will say, it's very, I don't want to say jarring to see myself get voted out, but like it's always kind of interesting to see like, oh, so this is what these fake bitches said about me.
I had a lot of those responses in like earlier episodes. That didn't happen that much in this episode. There was one thing at the end a little bit, but otherwise, I thought it was a fun episode.
It was.
Aleks,
Yes.
what question do you guys have for Kira?
I didn't know. I could write down questions. I didn't know where to ask questions.
Last week, Aleks.
So
not
if you
prepared.
brought up your idol,
No,
and
I could have something.
I need to stop my camera for a second. Sorry.
that's fine.
Sure.
So if you didn't use your idol on Ben, would you have? No. Do you think you would have played it at this tribal, or would you have thought that you're okay and would have gotten blindsided with an idol in your pocket?
What a great question. I'm trying to take myself back to my headspace. I don't think I would have played it. Now, I don't think that I thought like Tyler stealing Maddie's vote meant that Maddie was the vote, but it did cast enough like what the F is going on right now, that like my head, I just didn't necessarily understand what was going on. It was more like, something's happening. So yeah, that was just such a great last minute, like what the hell is going on. I don't have time to like think or strategize right now.
There we go. Cool.
All right, I have another question.
Love from Corey.
Right.
Corey. Steib, do you have any questions for Kira before I ask her my second question, or?
Yeah, I can ask a question. We'll go back a little bit earlier in the game. When you played your first idol, at the first tribal with the merge with everybody all together when Zach went out. Do you possibly regret playing your first idol right there, even though you didn't have the majority of the votes? And of course, it's not like you could have known how people were voting. And who's to say that if you hadn't played it, you wouldn't find another idol, which would then be used to save Ben in that incredible fashion that you did. So, yeah, I don't know, but would you regret that at all?
Think so. And sorry, guys, by the way, I'm having an issue, but I don't think I regret it, because the reason I played it was not even because I thought that I was getting the most votes, but because Rebecca, like, stating that I had an idol in front of everyone in the tribal, I was just like, okay, that's going to carry over into the next votes if I don't play it this vote. And I didn't want that on my back. So I just figured I'll just, everyone will know that I played it. They won't think I have one anymore, and we can just like not carry that into the next vote. I also thought that worked out really well for me when I did find a second one that I could say at tribal, like, I don't have an idol, you guys saw me play it. So I don't
little
think
flex. Yes.
Yeah, I don't think I regret it. No.
All right.
That's absolutely fair. And thank you. Yes.
There's a couple questions popped in the chat. I'm going to ask my second question first. Then we'll ask these two questions, and then we'll move on. And then if people have more questions, ask us at the end for any of us, including Kira tonight. So my other question, looking back at the game, are there any like votes that you made at any of the tribal councils that like you regret? Like, do you like regret targeting this certain people that like wish you would have targeted someone else, or?
Yeah, I thought about this a lot. I think what I regret more is, even for some context, so this is my first LRG. Like, I've watched Survivor for, I don't know, 15 years at this point, but it's the first time I've played a game. And I think that I was nervous. And so more so my regret comes from like watching back. I see people like John and Maris like not be afraid to put in hinky votes to like stir up some confusion. And there were, I want to say, 3 times maybe that a person got voted out that I did not want voted out. And I was trying to more subtly like stir the vote like away from that vote. But I was too afraid to like not vote for them when I knew that was how the numbers were going, because I didn't want to stick out and like have that make me a big target later. So I do kind of wish that I was a little less afraid of that and could have, done something more interesting with my votes. It's funny, but like shows like Big Brother, where the votes like tend to like be unanimous, I don't find that interesting at all, but then like I'm doing it. So I'd say that's more my regret. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it definitely keeps you safe though. Like if you like are constantly like the one on the out, like when he said it's like 10-2, like if you're constantly on the 2, then like, yeah, but I get where you're coming from. Like,
no, for sure. But like John did a great job like steering things away from, he did those hinky votes on purpose and was really strategic about it, and like major props to him on that. Yeah. I wish that like I could have thought of some stuff like that instead of voting for people that I didn't want to vote for. But
alrighty.
Yeah.
So we do have one of the 2 questions we'll ask you immediately right now. Then we'll talk about player of the episode, and then we'll talk about a quick couple things for season 8, another quick announcement, and then we'll get into more questions for all of us. So next question from Maddie. Kira, at this point, who was your ideal final 3 with you? Like, I was surprised to see you kind of go against John this episode. So kind of like in your mindset, who would you hope to get the final 3 with at this point in the game without spoiling too much of the rest of the season?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to address the back half of that first. I know Maris in real life, and I really appreciate her and like our friendship in real life. And so this is like the one situation where I would have voted for John. And I kind of like had to choose between the two of them in that moment. I absolutely would have gone to the end with John, out of respect and strategically, I guess. That would have been ideal to me. But in that moment, I didn't want to betray Maris if I didn't have to. So that's kind of why I was going for him. Ideal final three. Yeah, I would have liked to go with some people like John and Ben or John and Maddie. I feel like we played a lot of the game together. And I know that's not always like the best strategy. Like, how do you differentiate yourself? But I think like people could have either been mad at the couple or, something like that. Like exactly like I told Ben, if you go to the end with John and Taylor, I think that that's your best shot. And you could split off their votes or people will be mad at them or something. So yeah, I wanted to stick with John, and really anyone from the original group and just let us, stick it out to the end and may the best man win sort of thing. They were more known entities to me since I was playing with them. So I don't think I would have known how people from the original Vuku would have played it at a final tribal council. So it's more of like, not the devil, but like, more of what they might say in that situation.
All right, I like that. Next question. Kira, go back to Old Gulai. What was your game plan if that 5 of us lost together and had to go to tribal? So essentially kind of if there was no, I'm assuming it means like if there's no swap or if, yeah, I'm assuming it means like if there's no swap, like who do you vote off before the merge?
Is Maris still in exile at that point?
I think it was after Maris' voting. I think it would have been you, John, Ben,
Zach.
Yeah,
Maddie.
Yeah.
Maddie, yeah, and Maddie.
That 5.
You know what? This is so funny because when Natalie starts coming for me, some reason unbeknownst to me, she says me and Zach are like this big duo. And so since we can't get out Kira, we have to get out Zach. And that was so funny to me because like, that was news to me. I loved Zach. Like, he's so hilarious. He's so fun. We both lived in Iowa, so we'd kind of like connected on that. But just in the game, the way the game was flowing, I think I felt the least connected to him. So I probably, there was no one that I really wanted out. I guess I just would have been like, oh, I'm like the least close to him. Was probably how I would have felt.
Yeah.
All right.
And I definitely wanted Maris to come back in, and I wanted to try to like, or Annika, and I wanted to try to like repair those ties, and I had tried to prevent the votes against them, so I was hoping to be able to like swing that if they did come back in. Well, Maris did, but
all right. Cool, thank you. So before we address more questions, there's a couple things I want to quickly get through. The first part being the player of the episode, and for me and Kira, we'll have you talk about your player of the episode too when we get to it. So I'll go first. My player of the episode, this episode, has to be Tyler. Tyler put in the work. He put in the effort. And it's like I said before, you can have all the idols and evangelists in the world that you want. It's how you use them that really cements yourself. At like how you do in the game. So, if any of you guys know who your player of the season is,
I'll go next, I guess.
Player of the episode.
Yeah, the episode. Yeah, we know what you meant.
I meant to say episode.
So I'll give an honorable mention to John because he really put in the effort to take his name kind of off like the vote and kind of put it under and just kind of try to get the vote onto Rebecca. And sure, it worked, but the still vote really screwed him. But I will also give it to Tyler because the play was just perfect time, perfect moment, and he did it at just the right time. And because he could have done it at the double tribal, but he saved it. So I do give props to Tyler because that's a good move at the good time.
All right, Steib, who's your player of the episode?
I will start with my honorable mention of Taylor, because although she didn't win the challenge, she still has her super idol, and she's considering all possible opportunities on how to use that thing. And she still got it by the end of this episode, and she was able to lie low, and she was able to make it through. And who knows how she's going to use it? She mentioned in the confessional she may actually use it. She may use it as a bluff. Who knows? Who knows what could happen with that thing? So with an item that powerful, that's certainly exciting and something to keep an eye on. But it looks like we're going to have to bring out the brooms for a second straight episode, because we have another sweep. My player of the episode has also got to be Tyler. That steal a vote absolutely influenced how that vote went, and that's how we have the guest that we have here tonight. So, Kira, with that being said, who would you consider to be your player of the episode?
Stop stealing my job, Steib.
I'm just trying to. I'm trying to keep the flow going. God damn it! I'm trying to.
Rich top dog.
Yeah.
I was definitely gonna say Tyler, but since I agree with everything you guys said, I'll just say I agree with that, and I want to add on some really major props to John and how he has handled these hinky votes. Very strategic. I mean, he got Maris out. I don't know if it's like single-handedly, but the way that he spun that against her when it was all him was like so clever and really interesting to watch. So I just want to give him some props for those moves. I also agree that Taylor being so low-key and under the radar, even though she's totally not under the radar in this duo, she continues to be in her relationships, and not having to play a super idol, at least to this point, is so impressive. It's like this easy, like she could just play it. And actually, yeah. I have a question after watching this episode I would love to ask her at some point. Is like, most of the episode, it looked like the votes were going to be on Taylor. So like, I'm curious what she would have done, like who she would have voted for, if that was the case and she had to play her idol, but she didn't have to. So super impressive. But yeah, I do want to give it to Tyler on this one.
All right. So a second clean sweep in a row. Congratulations, Tyler. Low clap. All right. 2 other announcements before we get back to the questions. First announcement, as we've said multiple times, I've been saying it to death. I probably annoyed half my social media followers by talking about it so much. Thanks for putting up with me, all y'all, if you're watching. Go sign up and apply for season 8 of Survivor Wisconsin. It will be Saturday, August 16th. Such a fun time. You have a chance to make friends, playing a fast-paced strategic game with a lot of fun challenges, and you have the chance to win money and the title of Full Survivor. As we said last week, apply now. Second off, another announcement that I will make for this season. Fan voting will be beginning this week. So what essentially means that there'll be some fan votes. You guys can vote for who you believe deserves each of the awards presented, and you will be able to have a lot of fun with it, and the votes will be revealed at the live reunion, which I believe was told to be, let me double check. Currently, I believe the live stream for the live reunion will be Wednesday, July 9th, I believe, at this moment. So once that comes out on Wednesday, we'll let you know. There'll definitely be stuff on Instagram about it, and you'll be able to vote for all the fan votes you want. So with that in mind, I think we should go back to some questions, because there's a bunch of questions that came up right after we asked the second question. This one is for Kira. Tyler asks, who would you have voted for on Swapped Bulai if we went to Tribal and you could idol out one of us?
This question. There was a big part of me that was like, if we lose this challenge, I'm not too upset about it. And I don't think I really helped in the slide puzzle for that reason, although I wouldn't have solved it either. But, I was happy to just kind of stand there and see what happened. But I was also nervous that if I had to use my idol at that point, then that would have just put like a target on me so early. So I was kind of just more like, whatever the fates allow is what I'll go with. I would have needed to talk to you guys a little bit differently, I guess, if we were going into a vote in that situation, but without knowing how those conversations would have gone. I definitely had my eye on Taylor and Natalie because they both said they were from Michigan, and that just felt interesting. I was like, oh, they must have come together, which they did. And so that was just the information that I had, and that was something that I was pretty sus of from the start. Also, I really wanted to work with both Tyler and Rebecca. Those were the people I was like most interested in working with on that tribe. So one of those two.
There we go. Yeah. Oh, you're muted. You're muted.
That's
Me?
hilarious. Okay.
There we go.
Yeah, Richie was muted.
It says, Kira, if you had the chance to play again, what's one thing you learned from watching the film back that you would try to change?
I have been doing this, especially since it was my first one. I've been thinking about it a lot. Okay, low-key, I wasn't really thinking about this being filmed like while I was playing. And it's so funny because of all the years I've watched Survivor, I always think like, how do they act naturally? Like if the cameras are always in their face, how do they do it? But legit, like you guys like in our face, we're holding mics. I'm not thinking about it at all. And so I think the main thing that I would change is to remember that this is like a TV product and think about like what the outcome of that will be. People will see what I'm saying, or like how to be like more entertaining and confessional, stuff like that, is something that's on my mind a lot as I'm watching. I think the other thing is I kind of already talked about this, but like just being less afraid to stick up for what I wanted in the votes. I don't think a lot of, I hate to admit this, but like, I don't think a lot of the votes like went my way. And I was using a strategy more of like, I don't want to be so large and in charge. I don't want to be dictating everything. I want to like try to be more subtle. But I hate that there's a lot of times where it's like, oh, the vote didn't go my way. And I just kind of like threw up my hands and let it happen. So I would think I would try to have a little bit more influence still in a subtle way, but just being less afraid of that.
All right, I like that.
Yeah.
Fear definitely keeps people from making big moves. Like if anyone watches one of my past seasons that I did early on, people were just too afraid to make a move, and it definitely causes people to play groupthink, and that's not fun to play in or watch. So definitely not being afraid to make a move. That's really good. So I like that. Next question is from Nicholas. It says, Kira, who is your preferred final five if the vote went your way on the boot round? So
yeah, I mean, I definitely wanted to be with the OG Booley, however we say it. I don't know anymore.
I say them interchangeably.
And then Tyler. Like, is that five? Like, there were four of us left, and then Tyler. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was what I wanted.
Ben, Maddie, John, Tyler.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That just shows how much Tyler was kind of like playing the whole middle game so well.
About that, can we? I know that's not the question, but Tyler, low-key playing so well and so interestingly. Ben and I are both separately going to Tyler, trying to form an alliance with him. And this is one of those things that I don't see in the show. And I don't know if we weren't on camera or what. But there are like several times that I talked to Tyler one-on-one, and I was laughing really hard because Ben goes up to Tyler and he's like, oh, we found this parchment and everyone thinks that you have an idol. And I want to tell you that to like show you that we have trust. I had almost verbatim the exact same conversation with Tyler. And I was now watching it back. I had no idea Ben had that conversation with Tyler. And I'm thinking like, did Tyler think that we planned that or something? We totally didn't. And that's the one thing in this episode, watching it back, that Tyler was like, oh, she's been wishy-washy with me. I was like shocked to see that because I was so real with him the whole time. And I wanted to be in an alliance with him. Even like when I go to the original Vuku on the swap, he's the like the one person that I talked to one-on-one, and I was like, I don't know, I was just trying to like have something with him kind of secret, low key. So really a lot of props to him for like attracting a lot of like interest in playing with him socially.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So Maddie said, can we talk about Kira going, what about Taylor, and John like low-key storming off?
I hadn't seen any of their previous games, so I like want to believe him that he will like stick with us. But the way he's like, oh, but we can do it next, Bo, I was like,
Yeah. That was really fun. I'm just trying to scroll down and see the next question. Ben says, is there an award for best duo? Because I'd like to nominate myself and Natalie. I mean, maybe they could. We'll have to talk about it. Maybe they could.
I feel like Ben and Natalie could be under a best rivalry vote. For best duos, I think.
I was about to say next, yeah.
For best duos, it would probably be like two people that work together. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love the fan voting aspect. We love to hear that. Vote Ben for best.
Wait, so Tyler had a comment about like when I went over to the.
Sorry, I thought you addressed it
What?
already. Sorry.
Not exactly. No, I find this so interesting because I'm one person by myself, separated from like legit people that I'm allied with, and I'm supposed to go over to a whole other group of people and throw them all under the bus. And then like potentially get back with them. Like wouldn't they all go tell my tribe that I did that? Like why would I? And the other thing is, in this power dynamic, there's all these people who were all in a tribe together and they weren't giving me anything at all. So like I feel like they have so much of the power in this situation. So I think it's weird that like I'm seen as shady for not giving up a lot of info when none of them really gave me anything. But also the real fact of the matter is there was not a lot of tea. Like we just were like all working together, and that's what I told them. I was like, "Oh, it's a unanimous vote. That's what happened." So yeah, I think that I don't know. I find that pretty interesting. But I kind of wish that we were together longer on the swap tribe because yeah, like I said, especially like Tyler and Rebecca, I really wanted to form something with them.
All right, I like that.
Oh yeah, great answer.
Ben says, "Oh, Queen, you were plenty entertaining."
I'm dead at this, honestly, because like when I watch Survivor, I don't like I don't think that I would be a person who's like out finding idols. I really don't. Like it just kind of happened. That's not the game I thought I would play at all. It just how it went.
All right. Nicholas says Kira just had an aura of power, even as subtle as she played.
But
only one y'all again tonight. A player from Survivor Wisconsin Summer Solstice has been casted in Second Chance.
That's huge.
Is that her second Summer Solstice?
Oh boy.
Because I know we got one like last Thursday, I think. Is that our second or our first from Summer Solstice?
This might be our first Summer Solstice reveal.
Winter, is there one called Winter War?
Yeah.
That's
in the Whitewater era, yeah.
Oh yeah, we remember that one fondly.
This is for sure Ryan. I can't see it being anybody else other than Ryan. Or
it could be Liz.
He's really the only one left based on second chances.
Liz?
Ryan or Liz.
I was about to say, like, how do you forget Liz? Liz is iconic.
One of them two. There you go. You got the inside scoop here at the breakdown.
Right.
That's my thoughts on it. Well, yeah, I mean, you guys think that too, yeah. So many comments. I'm trying to make sure I get through all of them. The paper, yeah, I thought the paper thing was a massive setup. I'm always paranoid. Kira, that was your paper, right?
It was, but legitimately, I didn't know if it was. And maybe you guys are being kind, not putting this on the tape, but I had put my idol in my sports bra. And this is one of those things I didn't think about either going into the game of like, I'm wearing like leggings that like, if you put anything in my pocket, you could totally see it. So it's like, well, this is where I can put it basically. And so when I saw that paper on the ground, I literally didn't know if it was mine or not. And I was like, okay, first of all, I want to read it to see if somebody else has something. And like, I can get that intel to know who else has something. But when the parchment said it was an idol, I was like, okay, that could still be mine. And then I was like, this is my chance to be like total chaos. And I'm, or smelted Delta, right? But I was like, I'm gonna like just try to throw some like, oh, I'm the one who found this. Who could it be? And the way that had like, I swear to God, like a 4 or 5 episode arc is hilarious. So I'm really glad that played out that way. But genuinely with Tyler, I didn't think that he knew that anyone was saying they thought it was him. And I feel like the way I play is like, I can't help but be like putting all the information I have up front. I can't stop myself. I let people see me find idols. That's crazy. Like, and so I go to Tyler and I want to tell him the truth of like what was going on because I wanted to show him that like I would give him that info. But yeah, I totally see it from his perspective that he could think this is all like a scheme. So it's funny.
Yeah.
Devin says the idol jumping tree was legendary.
I'm so glad I caught
It
that.
was.
I'm so glad I caught that.
I was right there when it happened. It was great.
Yeah.
Thank you. I would love to tell a little bit more about that story because I think it was probably hard to like catch the whole view on camera. But I was standing there talking with Maddie and John, and then I think it was Maris and definitely Natalie were like on the other side of the tree. And
Yep.
I know that Maddie and John were talking to me, but the whole time I just was like dialed in on that idol. I was watching it the whole
Hell yeah.
time. I wanted to see if they saw it. And then Maris and Natalie like start walking away. And I didn't really care if Maris saw me get it, to be honest, but I didn't want Natalie to see. And they get far enough away. I check that their backs are turned. Everyone else, like I don't see anyone else looking besides Maddie and John. And that was when I was like, quick sprint and grab it. So I was pretty proud of that.
Yes, absolutely.
That was great.
I will say right now, like I've been in that spot when I found my idol seasons back. It was definitely in a very public spot. Everyone saw me find it, and so it's like it definitely almost reminded me of that too. Because I'm like, damn, like we're just like publicly finding idols here. Like, let's go. The public idol is the best type of idol to find. It's public. Everyone can see it. So.
I like having played this now, I have so much more like, I don't know, grace, I guess, for people playing Survivor, because that's the kind of thing that watching the show, I'd be like, oh, you dumbass.
Yeah.
But, in the moment, it just, my name had been on the chopping block. And so I was like, I think it's more important that I have it, just in case. But yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
Devin responded to what we asked before. He said it's the first from Summer Solstice that we've gotten confirmed.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe it was Captain's Curse I was thinking of.
No, it was the first Wisconsin one.
Oh, Wisconsin 1, that's right. Yeah, it was Wisconsin 1 Winter War. Wisconsin 1 Winter War,
Mhm.
1 World 2, Summer Solstice. I think Ben thinks it's Liz, guys. What do you guys think? Do you guys think it's... I think Ben has an idea. Oh, Devin says, screw it. I'll say one more. A player from Survivor Whitewater Battle Royale has been casted in Second Chance. Should be my first announcement from this specific season. There are actually 4 options that it could be. I think it could come down to 2 potential people. But I do know from the newbie side, there is Erica, who I've actually been friends with for years. Like even since like high school, like way before Survivor Whitewater. And then there's Evan, who... Yeah. Then there's Riley, who actually I do think would have a lot of potential if Riley comes back. Actually, just speaking from the Whitewater days, I think Riley. I was even rewatching Battle Royale like a couple of years ago, and I was like, Riley was actually playing pretty well. Like he would have meshed really well with like this cast or one of the last couple seasons. Like he would have really meshed really well. And then there's also Giselle, who probably is my prime pick just because who I personally would want to see back. Like Giselle and Riley, I probably would want to see back the most because it's like Riley, I think, has a lot of potential left on the cutting room floor. I think he would have fit in a lot well with like the newer cast. And Giselle is just an all-time player who just would be so fun to see back. If you haven't watched Survivor Battle Royale, go watch that season. It's actually underrated. It's a fun run. anything that you guys think about that, or am I the only one who actually knows anything about that season?
That is all you, man.
No, I think you covered all the possibilities. So yes, thank you for that. And yeah, no, it's exciting to see all these people confirmed to play again. And we hope that anybody watching this, maybe you could play again as well, or maybe you know somebody who loves the game of Survivor who would be interested in this sort of thing. Feel free to let them know. You know, come be a part of this. It's a whole lot of fun, and you'll meet a whole lot of cool people this way.
There we go.
Kira, you have any
Absolutely.
speculation on this, on the Battle Royale pick?
I haven't watched it.
Yeah. But don't blame me.
The only season I watched beforehand was season 6. And I binged it. I watched it all in one day. So
There you go.
I have to go back and watch the others.
You definitely should. It's really fun. And for people watching who haven't watched all of our seasons, go watch them. They're super fun. So yeah, I would definitely will always campaign heavily in saying that like Giselle and Riley on a second chance season together would be really fun. I know it only says 1, maybe it could be 2, but Giselle and Riley both being back together, I think would be really fun. So I know Michael Garcia used to host this like challenge series games. Not all of them were made public on YouTube, but I know Giselle and Riley both played in them. They both played in Battle Royale. We never got to see them play with each other, so maybe seeing them play together in the same game would be pretty interesting. So, I mean, I would love to see Giselle and Riley back. Maybe it's just me. I think Battle Royale is an underrated season 2. So, Nicholas, you applying for season 8? Go apply for season 8, you guys. Season 8. Link in the description for the application. We'd love to have you on. We can't wait to meet you guys. Keep giving us questions, guys. Now, give us a couple fun questions. Peer pressure, yes, peer pressure, everyone, guys. Kira, you played great. Honored we had you a part of this cast.
Thank you. I'm really glad I did it. I've known about LRGs and orgs for like a really long time, and I don't know, I was too like nervous, or I didn't know what was, anything about them. And so I thank the people who encouraged me or told me about this, and I'm so glad I did it. It was so much fun. Sorry. It kind of like got me out of my shell, and now I have this like addiction of like I want to play everything. So
Right?
yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Girl, I feel that. That is like, it's like addicting. Like, honest to God, like that's me. That's why I rarely say, I think the only time I ever said no was actually for Battle Royale. I think it was the only time I ever said no, and that's because the date kept changing for that season. And like the season, that day they ended up placing it on was like a day that did not work for me because I had other obligations that I wish I would have blown off. But no, like I think that's the only time I ever said no to competing, and like I regretted it so much. It's like so much fun to play the game, so I feel that I want to play in like everything and just like pounce on every opportunity,
Absolutely.
All right.
Ben, I don't have a jacket.
I understood that reference.
Angelina is
Good
one of the
reference.
few picks. Angelina is one of the few picks I actually agree with for season 50. So I will say that right now. I do not agree with most of the picks. Like, I don't like. Okay, I have a whole video where I talk about this. I'm editing right now. I had to get up on my other Survivor account. So
Survivor What If?
yes,
to
that
it.
one, yeah. Devin has a last question for us. Last question for me. Kira, what was the most shocking thing you've seen from the episodes that you didn't know about up to this point? Oh, let me get back up.
Most shocking. I'm gonna start. Okay, I might answer more than one, but I'm gonna rattle off. I was shocked at. I feel like there were a lot of times that I heard people saying like, "Oh, Kira said this" or "Kira did that," and they were like not things that I said or did, and I'm like, "Wow, these people are really cunning. Like they're just coming up with stuff, and like you can see how people believe it, and it starts to like cause paranoia." I'm trying to think. Those were like early on. I almost don't even remember anymore. But there was one where like Zach had said something about like Kira told John to put a star in his vote so she would know it was him. And I was like, bro, John told me he was going to put a star on his vote. Like it made me look like some like overlord. And I was like, oh, that's funny. Tyler thinking that I was wishy-washy on him. I was like, oh, no, That was kind of too bad. Oh my God, the most obvious answer is Rebecca still here? Rebecca seen me on Blue Sky talking about this. Total noob move by me to be like, I'm playing an LRG tomorrow. I didn't mean for that to be like people would know what I was talking about. I was dead ass like so nervous that I was like, can someone give me advice about playing in an LRG? Lo and behold, Rebecca saw me say that. Girl did not pregame with me. I wish she would have, though. The alliance that could have been. And the funny thing about that, too, is like when we kind of got there and arrived and started talking for a few minutes to everyone before the game started, I like connected with her instantly. I just feel like we really could have been friends and worked together. So watching that in the episode absolutely shocked me. And then I went back and looked at my Blue Sky and found that her and I had literally talked to each other on there before. And like, I have no idea. I just follow people, you know, who are like in the RHAP patron group or whatever. And I was like, the way we had a whole ass like conversation together before, and I had no idea that you were here. It was crazy. So that was pretty shocking. The other thing, and I'm not going to get into it, but a lot of the things that Natalie was saying about me were like that I'm not a girl's girl and stuff like that. I was like, oh wow, that was pretty rough.
Yeah.
And to me, that kind of gets like outside of the game because that's not who I am. But I'll leave it at that. But it was a little hard to watch, to be honest. I didn't know where that was coming. I mean, the only reason that I was cheering like for John to win against her was because she was coming for me. Like I wanted her out. Like that had nothing to do with like if I prefer guys over girls or whatever. That is, yeah, I'll just leave it. If anyone knows me in real life, that is not how that is. But yeah, so that was a little interesting to watch, but I'll leave that at that. Yeah.
All right, so while we're waiting for any last-minute questions come in from anyone watching, I do have a little bit of a stuff to announce for the next couple episodes. Episode 8 will premiere on Wednesday, July 2nd, this week Wednesday, with a sneak peek for it. Strength and balance becomes key this round, but so does the decision of controlling your own fate or leaving it to chance. You can watch that episode Wednesday, July 2nd, at same time, same channel, followed by a live breakdown of what happened, where we may be joined by another special guest that day. And episode 9, the finale, will air next week, Monday, July 7th, followed by a live breakdown and reunion. Maybe we'll be joined by people, maybe we won't. Who knows? You'll have to find out. The live reunion will then be filmed and live streamed out next week, Wednesday, July 9th, where the results of the fan votes will be announced. All right, so we'll wait another minute for any other questions. Natalie came in strong at the merge, being a villain. Heroes versus villains too?
I think Natalie could be a good fit for a villain.
Yeah.
I mean, it's already been... I make jokes because people jokingly said I was leaked for Heroes versus Villains a while ago, so it's like, if I end up on a trip with Natalie, I wouldn't be opposed to that. She'd probably be the only one I could think of that they'd bring back that would actually want to talk to me.
That'd be such a great season theme. I'll here for that.
I would love that. The problem is I think most of the people they'd bring back for villains wouldn't want to be around me. I don't hate people. I don't hate people at all. People hate me. I don't hate people. Like, so I don't know. I know some people shit talk me from the Whitewater era, and I just like hear it. Like after, like I can keep in mind, these are some people I haven't seen in like years, like 3 to 4 years, that they're shit talking me, and I'm like, really? Like, what are we in high school? Like, like I haven't thought about them in 3 years, and it's like, oh, Heroes vs. Villains will be so much fun because I'll just be like, I don't hate anyone.
This is not therapy.
What do you say?
This is not therapy.
We're not.
Aleks,
Yeah.
so why are you talking?
This is not a free country.
So fun, Heroes vs. Villains, and you're interrupting my monologue. No, I'm joking.
I'm not seeing any more questions.
Hi, Aleks, how do you like that?
Yeah, man, let's go fight. You know,
lock up Aleks.
No.
All right.
No fighting. It's all love here.
I did not mean to do it the second time.
Well, I guess if no other questions, I think we can.
All right. So
I think it's time to wrap her up.
All right, so join us Wednesday, July 2nd, the next episode, the next live breakdown where we may have a special guest joining us. Again, tonight for Survivor Wisconsin Breakdown in Wisconsin, I have been Richie Goreski, joined by our co-host and our special guest.
Thanks for having me. This is a lot of fun.
Good work, everybody. Kira, thank you for joining us tonight.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you guys so much for watching. We hope you guys have a great night.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.